second factor influencing backspin force is topography. Someone have not yet seen the first person to influence the backspin ball factor. You can click the link in the upper right corner of the info card. Then let's get started. Generally, when hitting the ball with a force exceeding 2 bars, the ball will bounce twice. Here, we simulate the trajectory of the first landing after the shot. During the bounce, the basic laws of physics are followed. The angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. However, when the ball lands, its kinetic energy is converted into elastic potential energy, which is then released back as kinetic energy. Due to energy loss in this process, the angle of reflection during the first bounce becomes larger. Similarly, during the second bounce, the angle of reflection will be larger than the angle of incidence from the first bounce. At the final landing, if the ball still retains kinetic energy and the angle between the ball and the ground is less than 20 degrees, this kinetic energy will be converted into forward rotational force. Based on the trajectory shown in the video, the angle of reflection during the third bounce has already exceeded 70 degrees, which also indicates that the angle between the ball and the ground is less than 20 degrees. At this point, the remaining energy within the ball directly transforms the upward force from the final bounce into forward rotation due to the backward friction of the ground. This is the primary reason why we commonly see the ball rolling forward after its final landing. Next, we will observe the results caused by uphill and downhill slopes separately. First, let's observe the downhill 13th hole. The first one is a straight shot. During the third landing, the ball begins to spin and rolls forward for a certain distance. The second one is a light backspin shot. After landing, the distance between the first bounce and the second bounce is relatively short, and backspin begins after the second bounce. The third one is a strong backspin shot. After landing, it bounces closer, and it is during the second bounce after landing that the backspin's full potential is unleashed. Next, observe the uphill 14th hole. Carefully observe the locations and terrain of the two landings here. The first landing occurs on a small uphill slope outside the green, while the second landing is on a small downhill slope within the green. When we simulate the previous landing scenario, we find that the uphill slope causes the end of the parabola to have a smaller angle with the ground compared to flat terrain or a downhill slope. This causes the angle between the ball and the ground during the second landing to be less than 20 degrees, resulting in the ball no longer bouncing. Instead, the remaining energy in the ball is converted into forward rotational force. Therefore, the original backspin applied to the ball will be counteracted by the forward rotational force, creating the illusion of a malfunctioning backspin. Now, let us review the footage from the same location, where the second landing occurs on a small uphill slope. Although the angle between the ball and the ground upon landing is already very small, the angle remains greater than 20 degrees when landing on an uphill slope, allowing the second bounce to occur. During the bouncing process, the residual energy in the ball is dissipated through energy loss. Therefore, as long as the ball bounces, the effect of the forward spin canceling out the backspin becomes less noticeable, allowing the ball to successfully spin back. Now that we understand the impact of terrain on backspin balls, the next step is to remember the type of backspin effects each terrain tends to produce. The 14th hole, after passing through the gap between the trees, features an uphill fairway. For backspin shots on this hole, unless the second bounce lands on small slopes on either side, it will inevitably result in a breaking ball. All the holes at the second hole location are downhill holes. For backspin shots on this hole, regardless of the landing position, they can consistently achieve the intended backspin effect. all the holes at the fourth hole location are downhill holes. However, since the downhill slope is not as steep as that of the second hole, the left center and rear center pin are less likely to produce a second bounce and achieve normal backspin. If the ball bounces out of the green or its edge, differences in friction will lead to a reduced backspin effect. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe.